Well, hey, Libby.
I was gonna say good morning. I know times of day. Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, depending on where you are, it could be morning. You know,
That
it's
is
it's
true.
one on the East Coast, but we have some team members at our company who are in Vancouver area.
I was
So
just anticipating that. I
it's
was
it's a it's a boot 10 a.m. there, right?
it's like- it's it's really funny. I lived in Seattle for a number of years, and I did get a lot of like, "Oh, you sound like us," and I was like, "Yeah, there's a whole lot of
You
similar."
sound like us. Wow. You know, a boot is as racy as I'm gonna get today. All
Yeah.
right, guys. So,
The
Sean, Sean, are you in Hawaii? Where are you at with your
gonna say
7
7
a.m.
a.m.
time? That's New Zealand. Oh,
Oh
it's
wow, so
tomorrow.
you're ahead of us.
How how's the future looking? Have we done anything dumb yet? Oh boy. Liam, how you doing? I see your hand raised. Uh yeah, Friday 7 a.m. Nothing so far. There's still time. Love it. Um well, hey, we got enough people in here. We're gonna dive in. So what we're gonna do first is we're just gonna introduce ourselves. So I'll go first. Um, hi, I'm Steve. I'm your host, and I'm with Alternative Payments. You may know me. I love sounding like that guy from The Simpsons. From
I
Rocket
remember this now.
MSP. Yeah. So I was the host of Rocket MSP. I still have it. It's just, hanging out in the freezer. Um, so yeah, I've done well over 600 of these webinar things by now, and uh I like to steal that line, I know a few things because I've seen a few things. So I also ran my own MSP for over a decade. I've been an IT professional since 2002. I feel really old. Um, I think my back just started hurting because I said 2002. So that
Mine did
is
too.
me. Yeah. Libby, how about you?
Libby Robinson. I am clearly of the same era as you, but somehow I'm still in my late 20s. So I don't
Yeah,
know how
that
how it
works.
works.
Yeah.
I have been in cybersecurity for 15 plus years at this point, in various different aspects of cybersecurity. As everyone on the phone or everyone online here probably knows, that cybersecurity spans a broad swath. So I've had my take in various areas therein. And I've been focused in on the product marketing side of the world for about 15 years as well. And really, what that does is it means that I'm always out talking to the market, bringing in market requirements, following what's going on. And I spend a lot of time working on our own product packaging and pricing. In my role at Field Effect, I've worked with a lot of our MSPs who may be looking for some guidance and advice on how to pull theirs together. It is sort of my passion. So if I get a little excited about it, then join me, won't you? Because I think it's a fun topic.
All right. Well, thank you for doing that. I'm going to launch a poll. It's gonna kind of kick things off. This isn't one of those weird sneaky polls, okay? It's literally two questions. What happens when you present cybersecurity options to clients today, okay? Maybe the client gets overwhelmed by the technical details, or maybe they don't see why they need higher tiers. Maybe they choose confidently and move forward. I don't know. We're just interested in, like, where are you today? The next question is, what packaging model are you currently using for your MSP services? When I ran my MSP, I'll be honest, I think I tried all of them over the years, and I think I ended on a hybrid where it was a mix of bundled and separate. And I think I liked that one only because it was nice to put like on the invoice, like, all right, here's all the MSP services that I'm doing, all the labor and support and all that. And oh, by the way, here's your Microsoft services, and here's when this agreement with Microsoft renews. So that's when you're allowed to make changes to that. Otherwise, you're stuck with it. So I kind of liked that one, but I'm I don't know. What do you think, Libby? Is there like there's just an answer, right?
There's a single simple answer that everybody needs to follow, obviously.
Yeah.
This is actually really interesting following along live, and we're going to get into all of these options. I sort of talk about jokingly there's three and a half sort of packages that people tend to fall towards. Hybrid then being sitting on top of that as kind of finding the right mix. I think that while there is very likely a packaging that works best for you, given the services that you are offering as an MSP, given your market, given the industry or industries that you serve, given the maturity of your clients, et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole bunch of factors that feed into it. So there's probably one or two that work best for you, but there's certainly
Mhm.
not one that works best for everybody. So it really is just taking a look, finding out where you are, where you want to go, where you want to bring your customers, and then, then there's also nothing that holds you in, well, this is the package that I'm using today, and therefore I'm locked in forever and ever. Sometimes keeping flexible and shifting as the market needs change and as your customer needs change will keep you the most relevant.
Sounds good. And I see there are, I don't know, like seven-ish people that still have not answered the poll. Now, look, I'm not saying you have to answer it, but I'm saying that the answers, the responses are too close to feeling like a tie that we need you. And maybe we won't move on until you do. I don't know. No.
Oh, pressure, like the pressure tactics. Good.
But suddenly everyone votes. All right, so this is tough, right? So packaging overall, like we should probably have a baseline because there's a way to package like the cybersecurity stuff. In fact, I know that Bruce McCauley from Galactic Advisors, he has a way that like he would, and I hope that I don't think he competes with Field Effect, right? Like I didn't mean to like, okay, good. So he has like a way or a method that he teaches MSPs to package the cybersecurity and like the whole MSP service deal, right? So maybe you follow his method, or maybe you follow Carl Palachuk's method, and it's you set it up 15, 20 years ago, and it's always worked. So if it's not broke, why fix it? There's a lot of different ways that you can package your whole services. And then there's ways that you can package your cybersecurity, whether it's like, all right, here's the base services and here's the cybersecurity, and it's like, let's bolt them together. Or maybe you're making a good, better, best, and it's all inclusive. So let's start there, Libby. My brain is already swirling.
I was gonna say, I feel like we just jumped halfway in. So I'm gonna take a step back to start with, I think, because I following the answers to these polls, and they're very in line with what we hear from our own partners and what we hear in the market, right? So when we come in and we're chatting with our MSP partners, or if I'm chatting with someone at a booth, when they find out about product marketing kind of thing, that the main sort of questions that we get are the ones that you would expect. How should I position my services so that I can better compete? What should I be including? How much should I charge? Which sides or which portions of cybersecurity should I make mandatory? The one that is kind of the most prevalent, I would say. And one of the things that we're seeing more and more as a trend in the MSP space is how some version of how do I upgrade the level of cybersecurity for my existing customers. So a lot of people, so for example, when they come in the good, better, best, or the, you know, the better, best, a lot of MSPs customers are sitting in that good or good enough or basic, right? And so sometimes they know the packages that they want to have in the market, but they're not quite sure how to drive awareness of the need for better cybersecurity, more mature cybersecurity, you know, broader cybersecurity. And so they're really asking, like, how do I move people up from the very basics, like, oh, well, I have an AV and a firewall and a basic EDR. Isn't that all I need, sort of thing. So I think that's one of the larger challenges is how do I get people to upgrade, which is ultimately how you have to put your frame of reference when you're bringing your packages together, right? And I feel I might sort of repeat myself later when we get here, but hey, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them, I suppose. Um, one of the things that is probably the more challenging when you have a good, better, best, or when you have a path that you want to support your customers where they are, it's striking the balance between packages that each individually offer real value. You don't want to, like, you really, like, if you're going to have a package that you don't think offers value, why do you have it at all, right? So packaging the things that you believe to have value, it will help protect your customers, while also generally leaving something that also drives a land and expand, or drives that, you know, those upgrades when the customers are ready. And that's difficult because we always want to overservice our customers, right? So
Mhm.
sometimes finding those drivers for upgrades can be really tough decisions for MSPs to make.
Well, not only that, but and I promise, guys, this whole thing is not a veiled pitch for Field Effect. Okay, so
Not at
but
all.
not only that, but like, let's say the MSP, I this is what I did. I would go, oh man, this software looks so cool. It's going to protect my clients so hard. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it and I'm going to implement it everywhere. And then I never like increased their prices. So do you guys struggle? The chat is free. Like, you guys can go crazy in the chat. If you have questions at any point throughout, feel free to ask questions. Like, we are here to like teach you something cool. Okay. So if you need us to dig in more or whatever, um, yeah. So yeah, it's, you know, it's like exciting because you see software and you see cybersecurity tools as an MSP as a cool new toy to play with. Like, that is as fun for you as a new Lego set for my son. Like, it's incredible. Um, but it can't be just a new toy. Like, it's exciting to play with, sure, but it also has to be like a lever that you can pull to generate more revenue for your company. So whether you sign up for Field Effect or one of the other cybersecurity platforms or whatever it is, right? You need to look at this as, all right, if I sign up for this, and now I'm going to be spending more money, hypothetically, you know, let's just say, simplistic sake, I added a thing and I didn't remove anything else. So hypothetically, now I'm spending more money, which means now my profitability is lower. So I just gave myself a pay reduction to play with a
Yeah,
new toy.
yeah.
And was that
And
worth it?
I really like the analogy to new toys, because we in the in the MSP space, in the cybersecurity space, we're all on the spectrum of nerdiness, right? There
Mm.
is that we get excited about things, and we get excited about cool things and new things and toys. There's sort of the value for your end customer. i- they don't tend to be, anyways, certainly some are, but they're not the nerds, right? They're not getting excited about the things. So it's turning it into the thing that you're excited about. How do I speak to my customers in a language that they can understand? And I'm positioning it in such a way that it's not just a bullet list of things that we inherently understand the outcome and benefits of, that we're translating it. I mean, I know this is a well worn analogy at this point, but it's sort of the difference between, oh, I would love to sell you this device that I made. It sports hi-fi sound. It supports any almost any audio files. It has really fast charging, versus the Steve Jobs coming out and saying it's 1,000 songs in your pocket, right? We get excited about
Yeah.
the things. We're excited about the hi-fi
Yeah.
sound. But regardless of your opinion on Steve Jobs, he did that part really well, right? Is a
Yeah.
speaking to the outcomes that matter to your buyers, right? And that's really how you're going to win mind share, and it's how you're going to be able to do those upgrades, be able to maximize, to sort of get your customers into those packages where, to your point, you are maximizing your margins, you're maximizing your profitability, because you really do have to be thinking about what gets them going, what are the outcomes that they are looking for, and how is what I can provide to them going to help them? How is it going to help their growth? How is it going to help them fundraise? How is it going to help them hire? How is it going to help them, all this sort of stuff. Because normally they are in growth mode. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think I can probably end there, but it's that focusing on the positioning that matters to them rather than the things that mean something to us.
And can I just nerd out for a minute?
You.
Guys, uh, we talked about, new toys and excitement. I had a home network that was working perfectly fine. And like 3 weeks ago, upgraded to Unified Dream Machine Special Edition, the Pro Max switch with PoE, and two of the U7 Pro in-wall access points. And I'm having so much fun. Like it's been in like several years since I've set this kind of stuff up. Uh and it's oh man, it's just so much fun like getting back into this. So uh trust me, I know the yeah, see look, she's got toys too.
I
You'd
thought you were
put
going
that
to nerd out on these sorts of things.
okay.
Pretty excited when you're talking about Lego kits. So
Can I just say I'm terrified you're gonna drop it?
I know I'm putting it very carefully down. I'm a little
Yeah.
worried.
So I see we've got a question in the Q&A, we've got comments in the chat. So do we want to start with those, or do we want to dig in a little bit and then see what those questions look like after we've talked more?
Let's dig in a little bit. Maybe kind of go through the maybe some of the inputs to be considering when you're putting packages together, and then
Yes.
diving a little bit into into the types of packages that we have in this in that the poll was a very hard word that I was looking for there.
It is
Um,
sometimes difficult, yeah.
so when we talk about and all transparency, obviously I'm here as the on the cybersecurity side. So there's a whole underlay of the managed services aspect of it that I'm not going to get into, because everyone on this call would know those things better than me. So I'm not going to step in
Mhm.
that. I'm really going to speak about the cybersecurity layer on top. So taking it as simply as possible. And sometimes this is a good little tool to talk to your customers about, right? There are fundamentally um, three different buckets really of cybersecurity. It's the like prevention of breaches and incidents. So what are we doing to prevent them from even happening in the first place? What are we doing? So that's bucket number one. Bucket number two being, what are we doing to stop an incident as early as possible in the kill chain, in that flow? And then how are we recovering from that incident? So prevention, what are you doing to stop the thing from ever happening in the first place? What are you doing to be able to identify and stop that as early as possible? And then what are you doing to recover from that? So every cybersecurity tool in the world is doing one or more of those things. Now, obviously, under each of those, there's 1,000 different bullet points, but one thing that we found with our MSP customers is when they are starting to frame their conversation around, okay, well, what are we doing on the prevention side? What are we doing on the stop side? And what are we doing on the recovery side? And when I talked earlier about the value of putting packages together, if you are doing a tiered or a hybrid or different levels, is taking something that is, there's some breadth there. So I'm doing a little bit of prevent, I'm doing a little bit of stop, and I'm doing a little bit of recover in, maybe my lower tiers, and I'm adding that breadth. Some choose to package A is just the prevention side. We just find it that a little bit, customers tend to be like, well, why are you leaving me these gaps on the recovery side or something like that. So everything I'm going to talk about from here on in is kind of, think about those three main buckets. Now, that's great for us to know. The next level of that is that taking it from the framework perspective. And I'm going to use NIST as an example here, Steve, but I think you have other frameworks that you really like as well. We've talked about there are others you can use. We have lots of our MSP partners that use CMMC as a way to put wrappers around their offerings. But when you think about it from NIST, you can start to think about, okay, well, what are we doing to identify what's going on? And that can be things like vulnerability detection, that can be things like cybersecurity assessments, that can be things like risk management. What are we doing on the protection side from those risks? So simple things like MFA and through to, NGAV and all that kind of stuff. There's the detection side of it, there's the response side of it, and then there is the recover side of it. So we do have a lot of MSPs that have, and we are going to, as promised, get into those packages, but that use an appropriate framework. And if there's not one that is driving your industry already, because there are certainly industries that have uh, requirements based on that industry, NIST is a good one to go and say, okay, well, what are we doing in the identification side? What are we doing in the protection side, detection, response, and recover? What are your thoughts on the framework before we kind of jump into what the actual packages then that they can start looking at are, Steve?
Well, I think it's important to pick a framework first of all. Um, and I think you're right. The framework needs to like dictate everything else that you do. Like if you're like, oh, I want this, like shiny new toys everywhere,
Mhm.
and then you're trying to figure out how do I bolt these into a framework. But if you start with the framework, then you can say, okay, I've got these I can't think of the right terms for it. Like I've got these things that
Controls?
I
Okay.
yes, thank you. My goodness. I'm sorry, guys. Pull. Ah, no. I've got I've got these controls that I need to, you know, plug the leaks on, right? So what products can I get that plug leaks? What products do I have? What leaks do they plug? And do the products I use not check all the boxes for any of these different controls? If so, what products can uh, check all the boxes? And then, obviously now it turns into a much bigger project, right? Because really what you're doing is you're saying, okay, I know I need to do all of this stuff for my clients. And in order to do this, I know I need tools to do it. So then it's all right, now I need to go do the software selection process. I need to, figure out what checks off boxes and do I like the way it makes me feel? Does this software bring me joy? If not, throw it away, right? Um, so that's kind of the way that I would look at this, honestly.
Yeah. And on and again, I do think I'm going to sort of repeat myself a little bit potentially later on, but the does this bring me joy? When we get into the discussion about the pricing element and inevitably the margin side of it, make
Hmm.
sure that, does this bring me joy? incorporates, can this fit seamlessly and easily into my existing workflows, or into my, is this something that is going to be a make work project for my own team, for my own techs, for my own line of support? Because if so, maybe it's cool as heck, but if it's going to be a burden, then it's probably not something that I can that I can take on in a profitable way, right? So there's like, sometimes we tend to get excited about the shiny new object. Make sure that it's a shiny new object that will also complement your business.
Yes. And we got a question from eBay. Please tell me that's your real name. Um, shouldn't we know the philosophy of each framework to choose them? Do we know those? It's a good question. Do you know those? Um, so I want to answer this one first, Libby, only because I'm going to answer this from, I'm going to call it the lesser educated guy about cybersecurity.
Yeah,
And then you can correct me where I'm wrong. Um,
sure.
so my philosophy would be, do you have customers that are you trying to do business with companies that have like DoD contracts in the states here? So do they have like regulatory compliance that they have to adhere to? If the answer is yes, then you obviously need to make sure that you're following those rules. If you do work with dentists or eye doctors or that kind of thing, right? Like the smaller doctor offices, you still have to make sure that everything you're doing meets HIPAA guidelines for your client, as well as for anything that you're doing as the business associate. I think you got to do like you got to sign a HIPAA BAA agreement with them technically. Like there's all this stuff you got to do in order to provide them service correctly. Do people always do it? No, but we're not recommending that today. So what I can tell you is there's a lot to look into with all of these different frameworks. If you're international, or if you have clients who have like international offices or do business internationally, they may need to do like ISO 27001, or like especially like manufacturing, because they're always bringing stuff in and out of like, China and other countries, right? Um, if they are doing government contracts here in the States, you probably got to look into CMMC or at least NIST 800 Um, if if they don't have any of that stuff, you still probably at least got to make sure that they're following all the PCI DSS compliance, because I'm sure they're taking credit cards at some place, right? And then you probably just want to make sure that you have a cybersecurity framework that helps you and your clients feel protected. Not perfectly. I don't think anyone can guarantee zero infiltrations, zero hacks, right? But if you follow a plan that some genius put together, then the likelihood of something bad happening uh, goes down significantly. So if you actually know which one you're interested in, maybe you want to do NIST CSF, maybe you want to do CIS controls, and you know why. Great. If you have no idea and you're overwhelmed by the thought, I would at least start by taking a look at CIS controls, because at least with that one, everything's laid out for you. But the one thing that I saw is, or I heard recently from a cybersecurity consultant, is she recommends MSPs internally also try to follow ISO 27001, in addition to whatever else they have to do for their clients, because that one has a lot more governance built into it than the
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. And I mean, the audits are just so much fun. Why wouldn't you just throw yourself into that one? Um, I don't have a ton to offer. You hit the ones that I would recommend. And then maybe that like the TLDR version is um there's not really a choice if you are in an industry or have a customer that's in an industry that is driven by a certain framework. Then for sure you're going to have to show that you align to those things, and potentially help them through audits, right? And this is where highly advise you guys to lean on your vendors and say, look, if I am servicing my customers in industry XYZ, show me how your solutions are going to help me, check these boxes. They sort of, be able to prove that I am taking these measures. It's hard, and the challenge is even these frameworks that I love can sometimes be a bit vague, right? So sometimes you have to just say, well, like, I think this is what it is, what is coming across here. And so, sorry, that's underselling it a little bit. It's not, I think this is what it's trying to get across. Um, I'm saying that sometimes it's a bit vague. So sometimes you can, I advise leaning on your cybersecurity vendors to say, help me understand how you are helping me to align to, sys control 1, 2, 3, that sort of thing. And so that I can then give confidence to my customers. So if there is an overall industry driven standard that your customers have to follow, there is, that's a no option, right? You got to do that. If not, and many very small, medium businesses, it's not a specific framework that they have to follow, then you guys can come in as the experts. And, the couple that Steve mentioned, ISO, NIST, CIS are really, really good starting frameworks to say, look, this is just about how do you best protect protect yourself from the threats. So sorry, I just saw that question come in.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. You answered it. Too long, didn't read.
Yeah.
Sort of the summary, like the summary version there.
Yeah.
So,
And I think I summarized that nicely in the chat. And I just want to say it out loud for the recording. You need to do the research. You can't just rely on somebody else telling you this is the framework you need, only because this isn't like saying, do you want Chipotle or Chinese? Okay. This is you're building a house. And even though I went to Ryan Homes, a major company that does, like, we call them cookie cutter houses, right? So they've got like 8 floor plans to choose from, and that's that. And you can make some changes, and that's it, right? But you still got to figure out, like, which floor plan do you like best? Which floor plan works best for you and your family's needs, or for you and your business's needs? And the if you think about this, like the framework, right? So only you know that. We can't dic that. We can't. We can't dictate that to you. So I don't want to. I don't want to spend too much time going down that rabbit hole, because that's all it's going to be, is a rabbit hole.
yeah. The last point on maybe on the frameworks before moving on is there is the requirement part of it. And Steve, 100% right. You do your research and you make sure that you know what you're doing and that you know how you're offering. If you're going to say that it covers this control as requirement, you got to be able to put your money where your mouth is. Um, the nice thing about using frameworks, on the flip side, if we think about it from a business perspective, is that you are immediately tying sort of third party validated value to your offering, right? So that's one of the great ways to move the conversation away from, oh, well, do I really have to pay for this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing? It's like, well, no, you're paying for this outcome. You're paying for adherence to this, best practices framework, and look at all of these outcomes that you're getting because of it. So it can really help you. We have MSPs who have solely used frameworks, even in industries that aren't driven by those frameworks, just to help convince their customers to move away from that, what they were feeling was an undersecured, lots of liability on me as the MSP, up to sort of, an upgraded level of cybersecurity. So it's a really good tool from a business perspective, and helping to sort of describe to your customers what it is that you're bringing to them.
Awesome. All right. Well, so we have talked about a good number of things so far. We talked about um, choosing, between different frameworks. We talked about the fact that you need to actually start at the foundation, pick your framework, and then start to build the house. Put up the frame, put on the roof, and then start to build out the pieces. So pick your framework, figure out what products you need for that framework, start doing the research on the software to figure out those products. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about what are we going to talk about in a few minutes, Libby? I know we got a bunch of questions, and then we got to talk about how to actually build the packages and like the tiers. And I know we've
Yeah.
got a question about naming them, and yeah, we got all
Yep.
kinds of good
Yep.
questions.
So, yeah, next was going to kind of get into each of the packages. I think I'm just, like we're already halfway in here. Think about focusing in on the pros and cons and things to consider in the main packages that tend to work with MSPs, and then would really like to take some time at the end to go through how do I price this and how do I position this, and taking some tips and tricks, because I do find those conversations are really beneficial with our customers. So sort of spoiler alerts on what's coming ahead there.
Yes. So we're going to take like 5, 6 minutes. I almost said 6, 7, but I'm not going to do it.
Oh,
Li-
volleyball. It was disappointing.
oh, so Libby's been walking us through how to package cybersecurity so clients can choose confidently. The whole point of this webinar is to help make complex services simple enough that clients say yes instead of let me think about it. All right. So packaging is just one part of the client experience. The other part is how clients actually pay you. And if your billing process is confusing or slow, or clunky, you're doing all that good packaging. You're undoing all that good packaging work. All right. So we're gonna pause here for a minute. Like we said, we got a ton more content coming about frameworks, talk tracks for upgrading clients. I'm going to talk to you guys for 2 minutes about alternative payments. We are a payment platform built specifically for MSPs. We now have, this slide is out of date, over 1,000 MSPs using us to get paid faster, to boost cash flow. So you know how Libby's been talking about making cybersecurity packages so simple that clients can just choose confidently. That's what we're going to do for billing. We make it dead simple for clients to see what they owe, pay how they want, ACH, credit card, debit card, whatever. And we even make it easy for them to set up auto pay so you're not chasing invoices every month, when your clients can view and pay invoices in one clean dashboard, when they can manage their own payment methods, when they can enable auto pay themselves. You get paid on time every time. No phone calls, no email reminders, no awkward conversations about overdue invoices. So like I said, we've got that client portal, going to give your customers the simple professional experience they expect. They can log in and see all their outstanding and historic emails and invoices in one place. They can securely add, update, store ACH and credit card information. And then, like I said, they can set up auto pay. But where it gets really good is the integrations on automation. We connect your PSA and accounting software to create a single automated workflow from invoice to reconciliation. That's right, folks. We integrate with Halo PSA, Autotest, ConnectWise, SuperOps, QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks for Desktop, Xero, uh, Zoho Books. There's a whole slew of them. We even do a couple of ERP platforms. Like, I think we've got the most out of any of the MSP platforms that focuses on billing. Okay. So we're going to automatically send the invoice to your client in an email. They can click a button that says auto pay, or I'm sorry, they can click a button that says pay now. They can log in and they can select the payment that they've got stored, and they can hit pay. Or you can help them set up auto pay, and you just send them a notification that says, hey, good news, it's gonna come out. We deposit the funds into your bank account. We will create the deposit in QuickBooks, whatever you're using, right? We'll even handle the fees. So if you have to pay credit card fees, it all gets tracked in QuickBooks. No more looking at 37 pages of mysterious credit card fees, wondering which invoice does this one go to again? We make reconciliation so easy that all you have to do is match your bank feed to the entries that we create. We're going to eliminate beyond 80% of the manual accounts receivable work. All right. So here's what that means for you. You're going to reclaim your time. You stop wasting hours on invoicing, collections, reconciliation. You put that time into growing your MSP, into picking a framework and putting together your packages correctly, right? You're going to lower your costs because our platform can help you save on average 3% on credit card processing fees. And we can explain to you exactly how that works. That is real money back in your pocket, and you're going to get paid tremendously faster. So, what I'm going to do here is launch a poll, okay? If this sounds like it's going to save you time and or money, and let's be honest, it probably will, we'd love to chat with you, okay? Whether you're already a customer or you're using another tool and you're happy, or you're just curious, want to learn more, answer the poll. And remember, a conversation couldn't hurt, guys.
And Steve, I will highlight one of the questions that came in the chat here because I,
Yeah,
I know the answer, but might as well answer it here. Someone
sure.
has asked you if alternative payments is available in Canada as well. And
It is. We launched Canada several months ago, last quarter, and we've even got the ability to we've even updated some of our features so that way it adheres to all the Canadian laws. Everyone's happy. And yeah, our team can show you exactly how it works in Canada. And yeah, happy to answer those questions for you guys.
you're getting some love in the chat here. So you guys are doing something right, that's for sure.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. All right. Well, Libby, would you like to tell people about Field Effect?
Sure. I will. Oh, mm,
And I'll leave my poll up for a few more minutes. It's one question, so it'll take you 5 seconds to answer, and then just pay attention to what Libby's saying, and then we'll put one up for her.
so I think that I'm sharing, but in the little screen share that I have, I'm not showing that I'm sharing anything. So are you seeing anything?
Thank you for the reminder.
Ah, amazing. Perfect. Okay.
There you go.
So I will go through fairly quickly what it is that we bring to the market and how we work with our MSP partners to service. So we are an MDR, and we when we were working with our partners. Come on, there we go. These are kind of the main problems that we are that or some version of these problems that we get when we kickstart our conversation. So, the current that we have some that have some sort of cybersecurity solution in place, but it's not enough. Or we have recently been breached and we're looking for something else, something more. We have requirements for compliance or insurance, which Steve and I have been kind of talking about. Or our current security stack is too complicated. That is a really big one. Complicated, complex, whichever word that you want to use. We do tend to get excited about the tools and about the toys. And I remember I did a webinar with one of our partners, and I think he said, and actually would love to hear in the chat here, I think he said that at his top end, he had something like 50 cybersecurity tools that had just been added to the stack. And well, I still have this one that's, in place over at this customer and stuff. So these are sort of the main problem statements that we tend to hear. And where we really like to focus in is a risk first approach to cybersecurity and MDR. So there is to sort of reuse your analogy, Steve, of the plugging the holes. That's one way to look at cybersecurity.
Mhm.
The probably most appropriate way to look at cybersecurity is think about what am I doing to create resilience in my customers base to provide layers of security, so that there are fewer holes to plug, or if someone happens to get through one hole, there's another layer right there. So our entire stack is built on a risk first approach. It's why we didn't go to market with a single niche solution and then build from there. It was taking a look at what are all of the risks that a client environment may face, and how do we protect from that risk. One of the formulas that we talk about with our customers is clarity, right? And so we started using the word clarity a lot in our conversations, but wanted to make sure that we had some definition behind it, right? So for us, clarity is sort of the combination of visibility. So you can't protect what you can't see. So we want to make sure that we're eliminating blind spots. So I'll give you guys the proof points in a second here. Don't worry. Simplicity. Simplicity can mean different things to different organizations, right? So we have to make sure that we have built into our tools. Simplicity for MSPA might mean I don't even want to I want you guys to do all of it for me. I just want to sleep at night. I want to take that vacation that I've never been able to take, and I want you guys to handle it all. Simplicity for MSPB, who's maybe further along on their MSP to MSSP journey, might be, yeah, I want you guys to be that active response, and I want you to do like really early threat isolation and threat containment, but I want to dig in a little bit. I want to search through what's going on. I want to look at the alerts. I want to have a few more levers and switches. So simplicity is very much in the mind's eye of the particular MSP, right? And then focus. It's really how visibility plus simplicity plus focus really is what helps to eliminate noise so that you know exactly what to do, when to do it, which things to prioritize. So that's really what our MDR is focused on. And I will throw up this one last slide here just to how we do it. So this is when we talk about holistic platform, when we talk about unified cybersecurity, when we talk about MDR, to us, it's all of these things, right? It's not just a managed EDR. It's not just the reaction side. It is active, proactive. There's automated response. There's human intelligence. There's there's AI and everything in the middle. There's an advanced analytic engine. It's really important to us. We have all of the analytics, all the thinking is forward deployed, so it's sitting on the agent and can take action right away. And then, just in case anyone really loves small font, boom, these are all the things that fit underneath it. I'm sure everyone's going to instantly memorize this, but I do want you guys to come away with not just the outcomes, but this is those proof points, right? And actually, I will get into why that's important and why I would advise you guys to do the same things as well. And then my final slide here is just another look at that flywheel from before. But the opportunity for you guys as MSPs is some of those headwinds that your customers are facing, right? Cybercrime is going up. Cyber insurance is getting more and more and more expensive, and obviously more and more required. And compliance elements are starting to feed in. So what can you guys do to close those gaps and face those and help your customers face those headwinds? And that's Field Effect in a nutshell.
That's incredible. Thank you, Libby. So I just launched a poll for Field Effect. Same thing. If you guys are interested in learning more about their platform, seeing how it can help you plug some holes, feel free to let Libby know on the poll, and she will be sure to have someone from her team reach out to you. All right, I'm going to leave that up, and you guys can do that on your time. I'll leave it up for like 5, 6, 7 minutes, and then we're going to dive back in now.
That took me a second.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
So do we want to answer? I want to just review some questions real quick, and then we may choose to let them sit and let them ride. Okay. So we got one guy, eBay. Customers think security is too pricey. Would you just step ladder a customer to maturity? That's a good question.
Yeah. So what we have found is, again, you guys are going to love this. It depends a little bit, right? So if a customer is coming at you and they have CMMC requirements, or they have, PCI requirements, it's not, sometimes things aren't an option, right? And you can use that as like, hey guys, you need this protection, you need this, and you can use that to get them into what we would call more premium cybersecurity models. Sometimes they do need a little bit, we call it supporting the customer journey as they are progressing through, right? So if they are going from, I think the example used was a VPN only, but like if not that long ago, you would go in as MSPs and they would say, oh, I already have a firewall and an AV. Isn't that all I need? And so again, highly suggest using those frameworks to help drive the conversation. I personally am not really into the the fear mongering scare tactics of like, look at
Dang.
all these terrible things that could happen. But the reality is that you can use it to educate. Like these are, this is the reality of the threats that are out there. And I really, I really want you to be protected against these threats. Now, we do have some customers who ended up starting with a good, better, best approach, and then found that they were struggling to get anyone beyond the good or better. And they felt that they were just quite simply carrying too much liability um, because they had put all of the sort of that premium protection in the best because they were trying to protect their customers from having to spend, right? So what they did was they basically like took a look at their packaging, moved away from a good, better, best model and into a single all-in. Like here's our offering, kind of take it or leave it. And someone, I think Denise, it was mentioned that it was like, it's you're not going in and asking necessarily what they need. You're putting your offer and you're like, look, you guys hired me because you want me to help you focus on your business, right? So my advice is XYZ. And so that to use this customer, this one and only one example, when they moved to that all-in model, for sure, they did lose a few customers, right? That said, well, I can't pay that. I can't afford to pay that. I don't want to. But the reality was that even in losing a couple of those, they are sleeping better at night because they're not carrying that terrifying liability of what happens when something, it inevitably does happen. And when they were moving into this premium security and they were acting in that proactive way, their margins were such that they were much more profitable, even even after they had sort of lost some customers. And when they changed their narrative, all the customers that they brought on were coming in at that higher level, and they were just making it, a part of their business. So I'm not saying that it's easy, but that is the reality, right? Of you guys are there to act as experts. No doctor is going to say, well, I guess you can keep smoking 2 packs a day and it'll, your, your doctor is going to advise, your dentist is going to advise, right? And the the patients that they want are those that are going to follow the advice. And that's kind of the reality of our world too.
Yeah. All right. So I know we've got more questions, but we've also got more content we want to get through.
Man,
Um,
we are coming up on time here.
we are. So here's what I'm thinking. Run us through how do we package it together?
Yeah.
Let's just skip right to that.
So can I maybe ask, sorry, and I know that I'm putting on the spot, because there's sort of 2 areas that I can dive into. We can dive into those packages types and what are the pros and cons of each, or we can dive into like what are the considerations to consider when you are pricing it and positioning it. We're probably not going to have time to do both. Is there a quick preference as to if people want to dive into the pros and cons of the different package options, or if people want to dive a little bit into the considerations when they're pricing and positioning the packages? So if
Feel,
people
feel free to hit the raise hand button under the reaction if you want to do pricing considerations. Oh, see, I've already got people answering in the chat too.
so I'm sort of thinking that because
Yeah.
we already, I mean, we didn't empty the well
We
on
didn't
the
exhaustively. Yeah.
packagings, but yeah, we did at least sort of talk about things.
Okay.
So, and, I'm happy to share some thoughts after, or I can do a quick summary of thoughts, and you can share it with the share it alongside the recording if that's a desire. So
Absolutely.
let's jump a little bit into the how do we price and how do we position this. So I will say right off the bat, I think a couple of the challenges and going so far as to say mistakes that we see MSPs make when they are trying to pull their pricing together is that they are looking at costs as just the black and white cost. So for, cybersecurity solution one, I pay X dollars. For cybersecurity solution two, I pay Y dollars. Add those up, add a little bit of margin on top, and I'm golden. So they're thinking of it just as a cost plus, and they're not thinking about the soft cost or other costs that are associated to that. So when you are first at the very baseline, when you're looking at your price, make sure you're looking across the board. What are the hosting costs you have for these various solutions? What are some of the troubleshooting and management tasks that your techs are going to have to do? One of the big things is this is this a solution or tool that my L3 techs are going to spend a bunch of time on, or my L1 techs? And so I'm making that I'm capturing the right level of personnel costs as well. And sorry, and the second sort of side of that coin is it can be really challenging on the math. So as you guys all know, and I'm sure if I was sitting in an audience looking at you, I would see a whole bunch of wincing in about 7 seconds. Different solutions charge by different units of measure, right? So it's kind of up
Yep.
to you to be like,
Some
okay,
are by seat, some are by device,
some are by
some are by
source.
gig.
Exactly. So it's like, okay, well, how does all of that package into a per user price, which is what I as an MSP, need to pay out. So, and again, this is where I would highly advise leaning on your cybersecurity vendors, right? They shouldn't just be tossing that problem over the wall at you and hey, good luck, you figure it out. So that is a challenge, is make sure that if something is per endpoint and you are charging per user, it's not a one-to-one, right? So make sure you're calculating those things in as you go through. So when we talk about going through what are the elements beyond just your costs that you need to figure out, is make sure that you know your customer. Identify, you will hear like product marketing people, salespeople talk about ICP. And I would love to do, we don't have time, but it'd be an interesting poll of who here knows what an ICP is, right? ICP is, Steve knows, Steve's going to type it in. Your ideal customer profile. A better acronym, or insane clown posse, whichever you're feeling on a given day. So make sure you know your ICP, your ideal customer profile, right? And set the value accordingly. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. I'll come back to some of the other pricing considerations, but I do get a lot of questions on, well, like, how do I figure out the needs of my customer, right? How do I know my client? And the very easiest way is to talk to them. The things you want to avoid when you're talking to them, and Steve, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is that sometimes as vendors and as technology nerds, we tend to go in and say, oh, here's my package. Do you like it? Do you like this? What do you think about that? And we're asking kind of questions where they're like, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. What you really need to dig out when you are coming up with how you're going to position this to them and how you're going to price it to them is, what is the value to them of any of the packages that you're going to be bringing? So instead of asking those questions like, did you like feature X as an example, you really have to be like, what are your requirements when you're looking for a solution or when you're looking for a vendor? Because they all have their little acceptance criteria spreadsheet checkbox that they're tracking against, right? See if you can get a good understanding of that. And really importantly, make sure you understand what problems they're trying to solve before they make their decision. Because then, let's say you're getting into renewal time. Let's say they're getting into, well, I don't really know if you're providing me the value. If you didn't have a good understanding at the beginning of the value they were expecting out of you, those conversations become really tough. They become a like, he said, she said kind of thing, right? So make sure you understand the problems they're trying to solve. So asking the right question. It's not, did you like my feature X? It's the like, what are your pain points that you have right now? What keeps you up at night? What problems are you trying to solve? And make sure that you get those into the mind's eye. And then getting the positioning right. This is the part that sort of said a spoiler at the beginning, is that make sure that we're not positioning our packages as a series of things, right? So sometimes I do go on when I'm working with MSPs at the beginning, and the first thing we do is we go to their website or they show me their data sheet, and it's a bullet list of MFA and VPN and blah. And the customer is sort of like, well, I don't know, do I need all that? I don't know. That seems expensive. Can I drop this? Can I drop this? And make sure you're speaking sort of like to the benefits and the outcomes that they're going to get. What problem is this going to solve? What pain is this going to, relieve for them?
Yeah.
Steve, if you're going to lean in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, MFA is a perfect example. Like, I know so many of my clients were super against MFA because it's inconvenient, but
Yeah.
you can make it convenient for them. Like, okay, so I'm a 1Password fan, okay? I know you might use Keeper, you might use Bitwarden. It doesn't matter, okay? You can use Apple passwords. I don't care. Um, but you make it easy for them. You show them,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to set up this password manager for you. I'm going to import all your passwords from, Google, the built-in one on your browser, and then we're going to set up MFA for a couple of your really important sites. I'll show you how easy it is to do this. And then I'm going to show you how easy it is to sign in with MFA, because it doesn't have to be, them sending you a text message and you digging out your phone and like it can be really easy.
Yeah.
Today, like I'm going to show you how easy. All right, we've already set you up on 1Password 6, 7 years ago. So now we're going to set you up with passkeys. And we're going to show you it's even easier to sign in with passkeys. Like, so you just got to show them, like, you just do a little work and like give them a sample, right? What do we call that? You got to do I can't think of the word.
Like a trial, like a little teaser, a little tease of.
No, you're thinking of
Yeah.
like the marketing terms. I'm thinking of like the engineering terms. Like you want to do oh, it's like at the tip of my tongue. Proof of concept. Yes.
There you
You want
go.
to do a proof of concept and for the customer and show them, hey, look how easy it is for you to sign into Facebook. Or do it on your computer. Show them how easy it is to sign in on your computer if you don't want to do any work, okay? So here, this is how easy it is to log into my Chase Bank account. Just don't look at the numbers. Like whatever you want to do. Uh
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, you gotta speak their language though, because if you're just trying to tell them, oh, we need to do MFA and we gotta do SSIDs that have WPA3 and like they don't care
Stop it,
about any of
Steve.
that,
Come on.
man.
Be exciting.
Yeah, like yeah, they don't care about any of that. Because it's
Doesn't
not
mean
fun
anything.
for them. It's not fun for them like it is for us.
Yep. Yeah, so exactly. And I maybe I'll leave you guys with a discussion that, that I was having with one of probably our most successful MSP partners that we have. And I think even calling them MSP these days, and they're pretty much MSSP at this point. But I was talking to their CEO, and he was saying that when we first came out, we were saying, oh, well, our cybersecurity package, you get EDR, MDR, cloud detection, network detection, you get a SOC, you get threat hunting, and they made some sales. And he said, now
Yeah.
I get on the phone and I say, look, like, and when people are sort of pushing back is, do I need all this stuff? He said, I get on the phone and I say, look, without our cybersecurity solution, I just don't have the visibility that I need to properly protect you against today's threats and reduce the organizational risk. And that's what you've hired me to do. So it
Mhm.
just taking all the stuff and putting it into a meaningful statement that sticks with someone. And he said, that simple sentence has got him through so many sort of obstacles and walls on their side because it's speaking to them in a language that they get.
Wonderful. All right. We are over time. So here's what I'm going to do. Libby, if you have to go, I understand, but I'm at least going to go through the Q&A, even if it's just by myself. I'll go through the chat, make sure that like everything gets responded to. Um, are you okay to stay for a few minutes?
I can stay for a few minutes. Yeah, if people want to hang around and hear their questions answered, for sure.
All right. So feel free, guys. If you have questions, please toss them in the Q&A just because the chat is like super chatty and I love that. Keep chatting. But if you can use the Q&A place for the questions, that'll make it much easier for us. All right. So customers think security is too pricey. We talked about the stepladder thing, right? Do you think we addressed that one?
I think we probably addressed the first two, about the too pricey and the like, what if they say that VPN is all they need and sort of like reframing it into the outcomes, and using and then some of the tips of using frameworks and focusing on outcomes and things like that. So I think we're probably
Yeah.
good on those two.
So I think one that will be interesting to dig into is naming the packages and
Yes.
services.
Ooh, one
Um,
of my favorite topics.
yeah, well, that's good because my names were never that great. It was either bronze, silver, gold. At one point I had like essentials and complete, and it felt very much like I can't even think of like I'm sure I've got a platform right now that I'm on complete because I didn't want essentials, for my personal life, right? It could have been Disney Plus for all I remember. But yeah, I mean, I've done some silly ones like that, but I also didn't feel like I had a company name that could be turned into something brandable. So
Yeah.
like my company name was Taylor IT Group. I know. Real real inventive, right? But like there's a company nearby. Their company name is at Net Plus. And so they've throughout the years have had some really creative, they had at Net Edge, at Net Complete, at Net this, at Net that, right? So like, just getting creative with the company name and doing something like that
Yeah.
was great for them. What
Yeah.
what do you think, Libby? How do you name these? And do you think people get a little too hung up on the name? Like, do you think the
I
customer
think
really cares what the name is?
I think that sometimes we get maybe a little bit hung up on trying to find cute names or that sort of thing. If you are looking at, and especially nowadays when people are doing three-quarters of the research in Chat GPT or other Gen I tools, think about anything that you're going to put on your website, including a name, including descriptions. You want Google searches, ChatGPT searches to find your website, to dig up information on your website when people are asking questions. So, my advice on when you're coming up with names is absolutely try to tie it to your branding as much as possible, but also make sure that you're naming things and describing things in a way that people are searching for, because basically what you want at the end of the day is when someone says, I am looking for MSP in Cincinnati that covers blah blah blah, it's going to help me with my CMMC or something like that. You want to be
Mhm.
in those, you want to come back in those responses, right? So think about how you are going to play the AEO game, the AI engine optimization game. Don't worry about getting too cutesy, because you don't want to have your sales team and yourself having to like describe for 10 minutes what it is that's in there. So sometimes simple is best.
So, what would you say to the MSP who doesn't want to give their customers the option to choose? Like, we offer what we offer,
Yep.
or as my friend has this babysitter they use, and the babysitter always says this to the toddlers: "You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit."
Yeah. So I think that a lot of folks are leaning towards that as threats are. So it used to be SMBs, and I think some SMBs still think that the threats don't apply to them the same way that they used to enterprise, right? But we know that it's just getting easier to do these sort of, mass attacks, sort of, like campaigns, threat campaigns. So everyone can potentially fall to it, right? And MSPs don't want to be you don't want to be in a position where you're liable for that just because your
Right.
customer quote unquote cheaped out on something, right? I get it. I'm empathetic. I'm not saying everyone can afford all these things, but I think what you kind of have to do if you're going to do the all-in security model is do your risk analysis. And when I'm talking about like your business risk is what are you going to do when someone says, no, I don't want that? Are you going to cut them loose as a customer and say, it's been wonderful working with you, but I'm sorry because of ABC, we just cannot, we cannot carry that liability. Or it's just, you're just not following our advice and therefore don't really feel like we can, that we can work together. Frame it however you like, but make the decision as to if you are going to do that, here's what we offer. And I think it's a good tactic, especially now as threats are getting more advanced, unfortunately. Just know what you're going to do when a customer threatens to say, well, I'm not gonna do that. Just know how you're going to handle those. So have your risk mitigation strategy. Make sure that everyone follows the script. They know what to do, and you have your objection handling up there. And then make that. So what I would do is I would also have like a group of stakeholders that especially if you're just starting to roll it out on a weekly basis, sitting together. These are the objections that we heard. This is what we said it would work. It tended to work really well, and you're sort of constantly adjusting your talk track. It's going to be a lot about communications and how you're managing that.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself. Um, some people don't know what MSP means. How do you replace that name in your marketing? Do you have MSP as part of your company name?
Yeah, I think that just naming of a company is very tough, and I think to a greater or lesser extent, someone's always gonna, unless you make it really obvious. What was it, Taylor IT services or something?
Yeah.
Like,
Taylor IT Group. Yeah.
it's pretty obvious, right? And there's nothing wrong with obvious. I I do like the MSP or something in there because I think IT has evolved. Those like MSP services have evolved greatly from what they were 10 years ago. So you certainly don't want to back yourself into a corner. But I will say every time I go into our sort of our internal tool and I look at new partners that have been brought on, people have the coolest names. I think you just pick a name that works for you, that maybe captures your sort of persona, your mentality, and go forward with that. I'll be honest, I don't think in the name. I don't think I've seen a lot of MSP directly in the name. Um, but a lot of, I mean, people will use it in their description. I do like digital partner. I think, partner is becoming more people want to feel like they're working with a partner rather than a vendor, right? So I am a big fan of using the word partner in the description somewhere.
Personally, I'm not a fan of the term managed service provider because I don't know, service provider sounds like some guy who's coming to your house to, do plumbing or something.
Mm.
And we are doing something so complex. Like we need names that feel prestigious, like Esquire, and like we want to sound like lawyers and doctors.
Yeah, yeah,
We don't want to sound like we got our pants
professionals.
hanging down.
Yeah. So I think it's a good point. It's there. MSP is maybe still it's still the term used in the industry and everything. But it may be, if we're honest, have a little bit of tie to when it was kind of that break fix model, right? Rather than what it's evolved to today.
That's exactly it. Yeah. Well, guys, this has been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun.
I agree. I've had a
Yes.
great time, and I love all the engagement in the chat and the Q&A. So really appreciate that.
Agreed. Agreed. We've got our next webinar. We've got one in a couple weeks. We've got a few in a couple weeks. The next one I'm most excited about, I'm going to sit down with Nate Friedman from Tech Pro Marketing, and we're going to talk about how to fill up your sales pipeline. So
Ooh,
watch for that in an email coming from us, and make sure you get yourselves I'm hungry. I almost said recipe. Get yourself registered, and we'll catch you guys at the next webinar, guys. Thanks so much.
thanks all. Thanks, Steve.